So the first thing I wanted to ask the both of you was what was it like to return to these characters after all this time?
So much fun, so amazing.
Hmm.
It was
Hmm.
nice to see the next chapter of their
Effortless,
lives.
seamless,
Effortless. Yeah. Exciting to be, getting the crew back together.
and just fun to see how we all have grown as people as well as
The
actors.
characters, that's right.
New members, kids,
Yeah.
it's this is something that we were just introduced to this. There aren't many Black franchises like ours.
Yeah.
So it's been really great watching each other grow with each, segment of this franchise, and seeing the new members of the family, the new relationships, the ups and the downs. It's been a great experience that has ended up lending itself to the work, especially in this last iteration.
Wonderful. And I
Mhm.
apologize, my bell is ringing. It's late on the East Coast. But for you, Nia, one thing I've always loved about Jordan is the fact that she showcases how Black women can be fulfilled without having sort of the perfect picket fence. How do you feel about your character and what has that been like?
I think she's a true representation of the woman who has chosen to put her career before everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to a certain extent you have to do that when you are trying to be that boss.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think she's teaching us how to have all the things, all the success, all of the accolades, but you can't really avoid getting to know yourself. I don't care how successful you are. There's going to always be that one moment in your life that forces you to stop and reevaluate, whether it's a health thing, a situation, a child, a marriage. There's always something that forces you to reevaluate the way that you're living. And I think for Jordan, in this series, you see a woman who is ready to slow down to get to know herself because she's already accomplished all the other things. And so this is where that sense of spirituality and faith and grace comes in, and where you get to start exploring all the good stuff.
Really quick, do you think Jordan knew that she couldn't have a relationship and career, or do you think she wanted it all and then realized, oh, I can't have it all? Or do you think she knew going?
I think she chose to go for success first, and then figured, I'll meet a man when I'm ready to have one. I don't think she's a victim. I don't think it's like, oh my God, I need a man. I'm nothing without a man. I thought I could
have it all, but right.
Or I thought I could have it all and I'm disappointed. No, I think women on a mission go in with a very specific piece about their choice. You have to.
Right.
And some women get the husband first and then go hard, but it's really your choice. It's however you want it,
Sure.
or however you're comfortable.
And like we were just talking about before, Nia chose her career before me. She was like, because back in the day, she was like, oh, Tay, oh, you're starting out. Hostella got her groove back. I'm going to focus on my career.
So
you'll
maybe
be
next
around
lifetime.
later.
Next lifetime. Yeah.
But
we made that decision.
She made that decision.
We had a clear understanding about how that was going to work out.
Just kidding. For everybody out there, just kidding.
Because that'll be the next rumor.
Yes, it will.
Dear God. I don't need any more rumors.
Well, I appreciate both of you so much for your time, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the rest of the series. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So the first thing I wanted to dive in with you is about Lance's grief. It's something that we see him really grapple with throughout the series, but especially in the first 2 episodes. So can you talk to me about your process? Because he's been really carefree, especially in the first movie, except when things kind of go down. But we've never really seen him deal with losing his wife. We saw a little bit at the end of the second film, but this is really what grief means sort of in the long run and how you deal with it year after year.
Right. So the thing about grief is no one really knows how they're going to deal with it until it comes. And unfortunately, it's something that we don't anticipate, but we can't escape. So when the show opens up, Lance is dealing with his grief, and the only way he kind of knows how, and he reverts back to probably, I would say, a worse form of himself prior to him being married to, to Mia's character in the past. And we'll see him struggle with that for a little while, and then, he's going to get through that. And then a couple of episodes down, he's going to be hit with another challenge that's going to test his faith.
Definitely. Was there anything about your character's journey that surprised you, because you've been living with him for almost 2.5 decades at this point?
Yeah, the storyline that's coming up it was very surprising. I think it's very prevalent today. I wanted to explore a little bit more, but with all the characters and everything, we didn't have as much time. But it's going to be interesting to see how the audience responds to Lance with this upcoming challenge.
Definitely. When you think about sort of what the legacy of the best man is, what does that mean to you as you walk away for the last time from this project?
It was the time, the very first Best Man. It ushered in a new type of, I would say, genre, just in a sense to where it was young, strong, successful, progressive Black people that it wasn't really depicted as much on screen, big or small, at the time. And so it's somewhat, I think that's why it's also resonated so much, because it was so refreshing that, I hate to use the term, lightly, but groundbreaking in a sense. And I think that's why people relate to it so much.
Wonderful. What was it like to hear Malcolm call cut for that very last time, knowing that you would not be returning to this character?
I think at the time it just really wasn't. I mean, we've really, I think with this series, we've really played it out. If it were a 2-hour movie, I think we probably wouldn't have felt the same about it. But I think having 8 episodes to really dive into the characters, I think that we really put a nice little bow and a little button on, the conclusion of everything, and hopefully the audience will be satisfied.
Wonderful. And it's so rare for an actor to be able to return to a character at various stages of his life. So what has Lance taught you as a person, as an actor?
Well, I've had to deal with. I'll never forget the first Best Man, when I was on. I was at the altar, and I had to. I was very emotional. It took a long time to kind of really let that go. I'm like years. Like, there were times, once I was beyond that, I would think about that moment and where I had to go through mentally and emotionally. I would get chills from it. So it really took a long time to kind of get over that. And then the second time around, which was much more emotional, but I was able to deal with it better because I'd already dealt with certain things that I had to bring up from before. So it's I've learned how to deal with certain things emotionally.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Morris. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
So to start off, back in '99, when you guys worked on the original film, did you ever think your characters would end up where they have landed in the series?
No,
not they wouldn't have told. Man, I couldn't believe it if somebody had said something like that.
No.
But now, looking at where we came from and who we ultimately became, and who we became, real friends with, and who we really learned to love and appreciate, and realize, wow, a quarter of a century of time has passed, and we don't know how much time we've got in front of us. And we're hoping that it inspires others to really appreciate the friendships that they have among their family, especially during these holiday seasons. Look deep into the hearts of those you love, because they're not promised tomorrow.
Time is not promised.
Definitely not.
And I thought I would have gone back to Julian and not, you know what I mean? I never would have imagined anyone could lock this guy down.
For sure. It's one of the things I really loved about watching the 3 episodes that I was able to watch so far, because I think what was so compelling to me in the first 2 films is the fact there's always this tension between Q and Shelby. There's always a lot of comedy wrapped around them. And I think you guys are able to really have more serious, dramatic moments in the series. What has that been like for you as scene partners and as friends?
I was so happy to have that. In fact, I requested it. I just said, listen, you've got to show Shelby as a real person. not, I don't want her to end up as a caricature. You know what I mean? You have to like end it where she is a real person with feelings and emotions and different sides. And, and they incorporated it. And, you got to see her heart. And that was important to me too. So it was exciting. It was intimidating too, because, he's a beast. And so
I'm a beast.
Yeah. And so
I'm a beast. She's the first one that silenced the room every time she walks into it. From every scene.
You're very
the
sweet.
moment she comes in, it's her presence and her entrances and her exits. She's the master of the stage.
Aw.
I'm telling the truth. That's more kin to truth than flattery.
Definitely. Was there a moment with either one of your characters that has stuck with you from the first two films that you think about constantly, or that you brought with you on your first day of set?
I haven't slept with anybody from the set.
Oh, gosh.
Who told you that?
For me, I always would take, my favorite scene is from the first one that I've taken along is, "Hi, Shelby." You know what I mean? So it's like whenever anyone sees me coming, it's like, "Hi, Shelby." You know what I mean? So that's always been the thing. But finally at the end, it's like, "Oh, hi, Shelby." You know what I mean? It's like she's finally a part of, she's always been a part of them. And they've always included her, but it was always like they were forced. But you got to see that they really actually do like her, and they just tolerated her because, you see the love now, and you see that there actually is a real friendship. So I've always carried that, okay, here's Shelby. Shelby, but we still have Shelby, still one of us.
Yeah, but remember, like the spinner said, love don't love nobody.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Whatever that means. And garlic make my feet stink.
All right, next question.
Now for you, Melissa. It's because Shelby is a former Real Housewife. Was there anyone that you decided to model her after?
Everyone.
She created it.
Everyone.
She created it when she was that first character. All those other housewife things came after the 98 person of who Shelby was, the badass bitch. She created that. She ain't borrowed from them. Blasphemy.
Okay. I mean, no. So the answer is no. I wouldn't want to do that. I just stayed true to my craft, and I think it was a natural evolution for the character. And Malcolm, came up with that idea. I didn't even know he was going to do that. I didn't request that, but yeah, I kind of just progressed as the actor, as the character, and it just kind of worked. But I didn't really want to like imitate or copy anything that was out there because, that's all scripted anyway. So it's not like, what would I be accomplishing by like
you'll be doing an imitation of yourself and an impersonation of your own glory, which is incestual. It don't need to be that.
This is true. Well, I want to thank you both so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
So the first thing I wanted to ask you was that I know initially you had hoped to do 2 films, but this has obviously pivoted into a TV series. What was that shift like, and when did you decide that that's what you wanted to do?
Well, the intention was to make a third movie, and I wrote the script for it, and I had a fourth one in my head, so I knew, that I how I wanted to close out the series. But as fate would have it, actor schedules are very difficult, and we couldn't get a budget that was commensurate with what I wanted to do with the third movie. So it lay dormant a while until I decided, hey, what if we did this as a limited series? Because limited series were really kind of ubiquitous, and streaming services were really on the rise. So I was like, hey, why don't we do that? That might be a good way to do exactly what I was planning on doing, and a little bit more, to be expansive with these characters. So right around 2017, after a girls trip, I said, well, let's make a go of this.
Wonderful. Now, I know that you also brought in Dana, who's had extensive experience in the industry as your co-showrunner and executive producer. How did you know she was the right partner for you on this project?
Well, she had been recommended to me. I've been looking for somebody that, could help kind of like articulate, what it was like to translate, from film to television, or to like navigate those television waters. And then after, meeting with her and talking with her, I felt like, okay, Dana kind of gets it. She's a fan of the franchise. She's got, had a lot of television experience. So I said, well, she'd be great, to partner with on this.
Wonderful. Have you always known how the character stories would end, and did they change at all as you were writing the series?
The specificity of, like, for instance, like, the book being a further engine for the series, being turned into a movie was an idea that Dana had, hatched. But in terms of what I wanted to happen with the characters, I kind of knew where I wanted to go with them. I definitely knew where I wanted to go. Again, having, written one movie and had an idea for the fourth, I knew what I wanted to do. And there's definitely some things that, like, in collaborating with Dana and the rest of the writers' room, that I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Let's incorporate that. That's a good thing for merch. That's a good thing for Candace. That's a good thing for Quentin to do. A good thing for Shelby. So, it's when you start, kind of diving in and dissecting about what can this character do and how can we, like, extrapolate that over, an 8 episode series. You start to say, okay, let's do that. And then you shrink it back down because you don't have so much time to do it, So there's a lot of pushing and pulling, but overall, this is the vision that I had for the characters. Yes.
Wonderful. Now, when you got to set for that first day for the series, did it feel familiar to you? You had done it twice before, but on the films, or was it a little bit different this time, since this would be the last time that you guys would be joining hands?
No, I mean, there was familiarity for sure. And then, I've done so many movies in between, so that it's always about, okay, like, are we going to start on time? Are we going to, like, do we have everything we need? The costumes, right? Blah, blah, blah. So it's a lot of nervous energy that goes on. So there wasn't a whole lot of, like, pomp and circumstance. But it's like, okay, we got a job to do. We're here. Let's get it done.
When you look back on the legacy of The Best Man and what it's meant to the culture, were you surprised that it sort of withstood the test of time? Like, this film coming out in 1999 and sort of blowing everything out of the water, and then to be able to return to it and for people to feel so familiar across generations with these characters?
My intention in making The First Best Man was to make a classic, to make something that was evergreen, that stood the test of time. I did not expect that we'd be making, a sequel and then a limited series. We didn't even know what a limited series was back in 1999. I guess we called it a mini series back then, or, the closest thing we had to a limited series was Roots, or the Thornbirds. But it's gratifying to know that people are still engaged with these characters. As a testament to the actors, a testament to the material that they've had a chance to embody. That makes people want to keep coming back and see a reflection of themselves and to see their friends on the big and now the small screen.
Wonderful. And what was it like for you to yell cut on that last day and to know that this was probably going to be the end?
It was a relief. It was like, I need to sleep. That's what it felt like, honestly. There wasn't no huge, like, nostalgic, like boohoo. It was kind of like, okay, like it was time. And I'm gratified that, everyone came back and put their best foot forward. And, I'm coming at the end of a very long period of time of working back to back on projects. And this was just, one of those. I was just like, okay, we're done.
Well, thank you so much, Malcolm. I really appreciate it. So the first thing I wanted to dive into with you is that I know you've done a film to television adaptation before with Soul Food. So what was your goal with The Best Man once you came aboard?
The goal here was really, kind of letting the past meet the present moment, right? So, Malcolm Lee originated these characters with The Best Man and The Best Man Holiday going back to 1999. But there's this exciting moment that we have, right, to bring these characters forward into the here and now and all that's going on in this here 2022. And so for me, with adapting this iconic franchise to series, it was really looking at what are we dealing with and what do we want to confront these characters with. These are such rich, well-developed characters, and what do we want to confront them with when we catch up to Harper and Robin and Jordan and Quentin and all of them? What do we want to confront them with? Where do we want to meet them right now? And what do we want these characters to confront in this moment? And how do we want to see them grow and evolve in this moment?
Wonderful. One of the things that I loved is the first two episodes, you really spend time sort of picking up where the Best Man Holiday left off, which I thought was so clever. Why was it important to not just sort of skip ahead a decade and just sort of start off where that film left?
I think because, you know, we do have a history, so many of us who know this film franchise and have grown up with these characters and lived with them, you know, since we first met them in 99. It felt important, you know, this is not a reboot. Again, it is sort of a meeting them and a where are they now? And I think it was important, Malcolm and I, for both of us to bridge that gap, right? I think it would have felt too jarring to just kind of go, here we are in 2022, and you last saw them, right, in 2014, you know, right, I was a fan before I was, right, one of the creators of the franchise. And so I think there would have been a lot of unanswered questions. I would have wanted to know, well, what happened? How have you all been doing since Mia died? And what happened with this? And what happened with that? And so we wanted to answer some of those questions, right? And pick up where we left off to bridge that gap. I think it was important for the fans of the franchise to bridge that gap. And then we can pick up in a way where people that are new to it also can meet us there as well.
Definitely. Now, obviously, I haven't seen the complete series just yet, but I have seen the first 3 episodes. Were you surprised at all by where any one of the characters ended up? Was there anything that you sort of thought of with Malcolm and you're sort of shocked that this is where you landed?
That's a great question. Yeah, I would say, while avoiding spoiler territory, one of the things that's important to me as a writer is to try to really put myself in the shoes of a character and to not sell a character out, so to speak, for a plot. And so what I mean by that is, to your question, sometimes when you start to really, you start kind of arcing out a story, right? And especially I'm thinking about some of the women in the series, where Robin, for example, she's a chef and she's really letting her passion for food and also her passion for activism have both evolved a lot since we last met her, right? And so it's really for example, where do those things take her? And really trying to lean into how that character is evolving, as opposed to us just as writers sort of externally saying, well, we want to do this with the story. It's like trying to really intuit and lean into where is this character. And so sometimes, though, that might take us on a journey that we weren't expecting. If we don't just say as writers, we want this character to go here, or we want this character to make this choice. It's like trying to really go on the journey with the character from one episode to the next, which is the beauty of television, right? So yeah, there were some times where we might start off with an idea, but then as we go on the journey with the character, allowing ourselves that freedom to go, you know what? We thought this is where this character was going to end up, but actually she's going to end up here. And saying, or actually he's going to make this decision. So we allowed ourselves the freedom to change our minds, right? And so that did lead us to some surprises. I can't necessarily reveal them, but I will just say it led us to some surprises. One thing that's cool in a writer's room is when you go back and you erase the ending and put up a new ending because you realize this is a better fit for the journey this character has gone on.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, Dana. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.